How are you navigating the changes of midlife? Do you ever wonder if it has to be so difficult? With my guest, Anasuya Basil, she'll show you how to go from midlife crisis to midlife renewal. Anasuya helps women to stop worrying about aging, love their bodies, and feel energized about life again. She is a board certified holistic nutrition consultant, an Upledger certified craniosacral therapist, and a board certified Asian bodywork therapist. Anasuya has been in private practice in Northern California for 24 years. She offers virtual midlife renewal health coaching programs for midlife women and virtual intuitive healing sessions based on decades of hands-on practice, years of spiritual study, and something we both share, a deep connection with nature. I am so excited to have you here today talking about going from midlife crisis to midlife renewal. Welcome.
So I'm very happy to be here with you, Misa.
It's such an important conversation for so many of us. You know, we're we're aging. We've always been aging, right? But I'm curious, when you're working with the women, what are you noticing about midlife and what makes it so difficult for them? How come we struggle so much with this?
Well, I think even though many of us are, have a certain confidence by the time we get to midlife, that we want to take a natural approach to things. When it starts happening, the gray hair, the wrinkles, and maybe that combines with some insomnia, and then it combines on top of that with some life changes in our primary relationships, our kids leaving home, or maybe there's a divorce or a death in the family. And like sometimes that all combines to suddenly we feel a lot more insecure about ourselves in midlife. And we start to worry, like, is it too late for me to change my course? Is it too late for a new career? Is it too late for a new relationship? Now what do I do? And I think that creates a lot of stress. And then the more stress we feel, the more it exacerbates our symptoms.
Yeah. Oh boy, can I relate to that? The wrinkles. It was like, yes. And it's true. You don't feel that inside your body, right? I still feel like I'm 30, 33, something like that, but my skin is saying something very, very different. And I think it's easy for us to associate how we look, how we want to look, at the best of how we've looked and the best of how we have felt as our bodies are shifting and transforming. And you're absolutely right. As we start moving into midlife, more people are crossing over in our lives. And you feel that sense of, wait a minute, I'm getting closer to my time.
Yes, you really feel like, maybe it is, the fertility issue is, one of the biggest things that you suddenly realize, oh, I kind of missed that boat if I didn't have children, or I will never have an infant in my arms again, of my own. There's certain roads that cross and you can feel those endings. And that's a big deal for women to feel that shift in fertility.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And so much comes with that menopausal shift that you're going through. Talk about needing to be self aware because your whole body is talking about it, right? I need to be aware because I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm uncomfortable, these weird feelings in my body I haven't had before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it demands it. So you have some yin building activities. What are these and how do they help women?
I started thinking about and talking about yin building activities because for many years I taught at the Acupressure Institute, a course called Acupressure for Menopause that was based on traditional Chinese medicine. And one of the traditional Chinese medicine patterns that happens for midlife women is called yin deficiency. And yin and yang are like names of different energies in our body. Yang is more direct and outgoing and do, and it's hot and it's, bright and it like wants to go in a direction outward. And then yin, by contrast, is more about being more inward, receptive, nurturing, and it's sort of like, the energy kind of goes down and in like that. And in our culture, we're rewarded for going, doing, and being yang. We're all a mixture of yin and yang. But when you get to midlife, if you've been overdoing on the yang side, you suddenly feel that yin deficiency, and it can feel like fatigue. It can feel like that you can't regulate your temperature. So the hot flashes happen, not because you have too much yang, but because you don't have enough coolness, enough yin to keep it in and down. And at night, your mind can get really active, even though you're exhausted. And that's because you don't have enough yin to draw you inward and downward into the deep, dark comfort of sleep. And so we would talk in our classes, all the acupressure points to use to build yin. But then, of course, what can we do as activities without acupressure points to nourish our yin? And we would come up with lists together in these workshops. And it was things like all the things that take you out of that sympathetic mode, put you into that parasympathetic mode that's more relaxing, like that place where you feel after a really good massage, you feel in the slightly altered state of relaxation. And so people get that from, walking in nature, from listening to music, from engaging in a craft that is pleasurable, from enjoying food and really tasting the food, like receiving the taste and pleasure and nurturance of the food. And, meditation is yin building. So all those kinds of activities, I believe that, they're underappreciated in our culture. We say, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, self-care is good. But what they actually do is it changes your hormonal balance. It shifts the way your neurotransmitters in your brain are functioning. You can actually change your whole brain chemistry by doing these activities. And so they're actually medicine, they're essential, and it really helps to be encouraged to do them as a therapeutic process.
Oh, you're speaking my language. Oh, I love this. It's my heart's just singing. Because of course, so much of my work, as you know, is really about immersing in that yin energy. What we call sacred feminine, divine feminine, really is the essence of yin. It is that inner world, coolness, stillness. And we're in this go-go world. And so the power of that yin energy can get lost.
I agree. And I think one of my, things I learned about yin was the power of being receptive, because we're often taught that it's actually doing other things that is powerful, but actually receiving is incredibly powerful. You can really stand in your power and receive. And if you do not have the power to receive, then you will eventually get weaker and weaker.
That's exactly right. Even in manifestation of any kind, whether we're talking about healing or prosperity or partnership or career, if you don't have that receptive nature in you, you're going to work and work and work for it, but receive little.
Exactly.
And we've all done it, right, at some point in our lives, because the receptive muscles weren't open to actually allow it in, to feel that worthiness, to feel that sense of, yes, it should. Nature gives to us all the time if we allow it to come in.
Yes. And I really believe that being in a receptive place with nature is allowing nature to feel the love coming from nature. Because it's really easy to say, I love nature. Yeah, I love going trees. I love birds. But do you allow the feeling of being loved by trees to come into your being? It's an extraordinary feeling. And then you're in a reciprocal relationship. You're not in a one-sided, I love nature, but nature probably doesn't care about me. That's not the way we want to be in nature. We want to be in that totally reciprocal love affair.
Absolutely. They're energy beings.
Thank
There's
you.
a connection there if we want it to be. You'll love that when I go for a walk and with my husband, and I comment on the beautiful flowers, and I say, "Oh, look at that beautiful face looking up at us," and he says, "That one's thinking the same thing about you." And it's a lovely reminder that it's a reciprocal relationship,
Yes.
and you can let that in, and it absolutely gives us strength.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a more balanced place, isn't it? I mean, you talked about massage, and I was thinking about when I used to get massages and how wonderful they were. I'll be back to them as soon as we can. Um, that sense of, there's this sense of energy, vitality that you have after a massage, but it is coming from a more relaxed center. And there's a moment in performance, there's a moment in sports. It's called being in the zone, right? And you are like the epitome of this balance between yin and yang energy. And it's amazing. So I'm I'm struck by how often we lean on yang energy to try to do it for us, but it can't by itself.
And I think this is in midlife, you get to that place where you can't push through the way you used to when you were young. You just can't. You get into these burnout places. And if you ever get into a burnout place, it's a deep hole to dig out of, and you don't want to go there again. And so you just, you do learn, you just don't push through like beyond your capacity. You
Yeah,
have to really balance that nourishing part.
yeah, exactly. It's true. You really can't. Otherwise, you just continue to burn. As a dear friend of mine said, I burned my candle at both ends, right? And it's the choices that we make. So creating that choice. How do you advise women when they're struggling with that? When they're trying to incorporate these yin practices in their lives and they're not used to it? What do you
Yeah.
advise?
Yeah, I think that, we do get so busy, it's hard to take the time out. But because I'm a nutrition consultant and I talk a lot about food with my clients, I find that a lot of women in midlife and older don't have very strong stomach acid, which leads to lower digestive ability. It leads to not being able to absorb the nutrients. And if you can't absorb your nutrients, all kinds of health problems can arise from osteoporosis and heart disease and all those kinds of things. So you need a good, strong digestive energy. You cannot secrete those digestive juices if you're all in that do mode, because your body says the last thing that's important is digestion. Your muscles, how tight you can clench your jaw and everything, that's what's important in that hormonal picture. And so consciously relaxing your body, taking deep breaths in, like even 3 deep breaths, will help you make that shift before every meal. And using your meals as a place to start to say, I'm going into the full receptive mode when I eat. I'm going to relax. I'm going to shift my awareness. I'm going to take deep breaths. I might even say grace. I might even hold hands with whoever is with me. I might express gratitude for the food. That all of that stuff shifts us into that yin receptive state, and we digest our food better. We have a whole rest for our nervous system, and that's a really good place to start.
I love that. It's so practical and concrete, and it's that spiritual consciousness, that receptive consciousness. I love it. And digestion has been, as you know, a big issue for me that I've been working with. And that has been my guidance spiritually, is slow it down, relax your gut, relax your body so that it can do the work it knows how to do, and stop trying to do that work for your body. It's like trying to make it happen in your body isn't going to work, right? That's just more of that same masculine energy pushing. But I
Yeah.
love that you're speaking to that prayerfulness, mindfulness, slowing down, relaxing, and letting the body do what it knows how to do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for that reminder personally and on behalf of our listeners. That's great. Perfect timing. So we've been talking about this concept of divine feminine consciousness, yin consciousness, sacred feminine consciousness personally. What do you see in terms of this awakening inside of us as women, really being aware of our receptive yin nature? How does it benefit the world as well? Why is this a good time for us to become so aware of this?
For one, I really believe that our planet, nature, really needs us to, be more aware, be more hold in a place of sacredness and preciousness of the earth around us. Whether it's your backyard, the street you live on, your view from outside your skyscraper in the middle of a city. Like, our connection with nature is going to be key, because if we don't have a relationship with nature, we're not going to be able to stick up for her. We're not going to be able to protect her. We're not going to be able to support, even be aware of legislation that either is destructive or protective. So I feel like we all have a calling. I believe there's a calling inside all of us, because we are nature. We are all daughters of the earth. We are all indigenous people of this planet. There's no other planet for us, so we are indigenous to this planet as Homo sapiens. And so there is a calling in us to connect and respect and honor nature, and by so doing, honoring ourselves and our own sacred feminine. And I believe that that is, one of the keys to shifting things. And then also just really respecting the power of the way women do business, the way women strengthen communities. And so much of it, we're so used to ignoring it. We're so used to just thinking it's what the men do is what the important stuff is. It's because, we live in the society that has, promoted that sensation. But when you look around and you really see what are women doing to strengthen our communities, to strengthen our world, to have a conscious business that's inclusive, that respects all, sizes, shapes, colors of people that come in, just, I think if we appreciate that, we can strengthen our own ability to make stands in positive ways.
I couldn't agree more. The feminine is much more inclusive by nature. I'm talking about yin, not yes, in terms of how women respond to life, but yin is more inclusive. Yang in that powerful expression gets played out in the human behavior and through our men as competition, which is a powerful energy, but we don't want to be competing with the earth. That doesn't make any sense. She's the one that provides for us. So if we're competing with the earth, which we've been doing, how many of those minerals, how much of that oil, how much of those resources can we use from her without necessarily taking care of her? We become unconscious. We tend to think that's normal. It's not normal. It's not how our ancestors lived at all. They lived with an awareness about how much of a plant to take and how much not to, and how to naturally encourage the plants to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So the seeds were stronger naturally without a bunch of our chemical intervention. There is brilliance in the mother if we honor her. Absolute brilliance about how to sustain life. And we experience that in our inclusiveness with her. That she's part of us, we are part of her. And I'm so glad you spoke to that indigenous wisdom, because that's what has been here until we really let that, and until the way I would say it is we started to compete with nature instead of honoring her.
Yeah. Yes. And it's everything that we do to nature is like we're doing to ourselves. We are really we are nature, we are one with nature. And so if we're not, like, even in the way we handle our yard, if we're like out there poisoning weeds, you know, only allowing grass to grow, not allowing anything, you know, native to grow naturally, then, you know, it's like, that is a beautiful metaphor, even though it's not pleasant, but that is how we are treating ourselves. Um, we're monoculturing our own gifts and not really, you know, being acknowledging and harvesting of the rich myriad of incredible gifts that we have inside. That is our nature. And so how we're treating nature is how we're treating ourselves.
Exactly. So take us further into, Anasuya, that concept of this concept we're talking about, into going from midlife crisis, right, where we're feeling out of control and trying to manage everything, to midlife renewal, which is what you teach women how to do. Tell us about making that transition to midlife renewal.
Well, maybe I'll share a story of one of the clients I worked with recently. She was feeling like, what's left in her, you know, what's her, everything was downhill from where she was. She was discouraged about her career. She felt like she had missed the boat of her career, and she was doing work that she didn't enjoy. She felt physically weak because she didn't digest her food well, and she would burst into tears when she shopped for groceries, because any food she ate would cause her digestive pain. Mm-hmm. And she just was like, I don't like midlife at all. This is terrible. And so we started with nutrition. And I really feel like, you know, since that's such a core way that we nourish ourselves, if we're feeling stuck, if we're feeling we don't know where to go in life, return and come back to nutrition in all its forms of nurturance. And, you know, that yin building, you know, filling the well inside. I see this happening over and over again with my clients, and it happened with this client too. Once that part is resolved and you feel more full, all your creative ideas and inspiration about what you want to do next in your life, like, bubble up naturally. So with this client, we found the key that was really upsetting her digestive tract. She discovered she was histamine sensitive. We worked with ways to deal with the, you know, high histamine in her body to lower it down. She started to be able to eat more foods with feeling comfortable with her digestion. And the light bulb went off about, once she felt more healthy and vibrant, what to do with her career. And so she wanted to combine her healing practices and her artistic practices. And she worked with some practice clients, I suggested, to just see what the feedback was. She got amazing feedback because she was really a talented person. And she just started, you know, building from that. And we had a ceremony at the end, you know, by Zoom. And we invited her mother to come in as her family witness, someone in her circle who could witness her stepping into her midlife and really making a commitment to honoring her midlife as an amazing time in her life, to feeling the gifts of wisdom that had been just started to come through for her. And, you know, the whole energy shifted when we had that ceremony for her. And she read some things of her commitment to herself and her midlife. And her mother, you know, mirrored her, respected her for that. And it was an amazing, amazing thing. So that gives an idea, a little bit of how I work with my clients to go from midlife crisis to feeling, oh, this is an amazing new chapter in my life.
Oh, I love it. And I love the way that you did that. I love the process and the progression. It's just beautiful. And I can feel that journey with her as you were speaking it, like, yes, 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 starting with nurturing the self and allowing the self to awaken, and then into that real spiritual recognition of her wisdom, which is what we're moving into, right? That's what happens. You become this well of wisdom to be there for others now in their journey. At least that's the way I learned it from my elders, and it resonated for me. That sense of marking this time in ceremony and honoring what you are now stepping into and its significance. Ah, what a beautiful gift you are, Anasuya. How gorgeous. Well, I'm so enjoying this conversation, and I want to make sure everybody knows how to get your book because you have a book, right, called Midlife Renewal for Women. And so we'll have a link down below. Is there anything about that book you want people to know?
It's an ebook. It's an easy read. It's got beautiful photos in it. It's got specific exercises around 5 different powerful ways that are to build your yin, some of them that we've discussed. And there's specific exercises you can do so you can try them out and see how it makes you feel.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to encourage all of you watching this, go pick that up. And the link is down below. And I want to thank you, Anasuya, for your beautiful sacred work in the world and for sharing this time with us today and giving us some inspiration to renew in our midlife.
Thank you, Misa. It's been a delight.
And everyone, as always, subscribe to my channel and join us in this community. And also to receive my free meditation gift, The Holding, check out the link below. Most of all, thank you to all of you who are doing your work in awakening feminine consciousness, and I'll see you at my next interview.